Right. So, wanted to start building some tutorial videos here for the Temari-Draw application. Just to try to introduce some of the features and walk through some of the tips because it is a little bit complicated. First, just a couple of notes, right? I mean, currently this is hosted at temari-draw.glitch.me. That may change in the future. But right now what we're going to be looking at is the Temari notebook set. So you'll see that, when you get a note, you can either go to the notebook URL by itself, and it'll generate a new unique notebook for you under that sort of gobbledygook that's appended at the end, or you can always hit the new Temari button and that'll do the same thing and take you to a brand new Temari. These links are shareable and can be copied and pasted into emails or blogs or whatever, but there aren't any permissions associated with it. So if you build a drawing against some particular saved notebook and then send it to a friend and then they delete all your stuff, well, that can happen. Maybe we'll work on adding users and read-write type stuff in the future. But anyway, so what do we have here? We've got a screen in the middle that I can, as it comes up initially, I start out in this pan and drag mode, where as I click on the ball and move my mouse, the ball is going to follow it around. And so I can look at every corner of this simple 4 division right now. There's a slightly different, sort of the older style of moving the ball around, where you can set it spinning. If you kind of click and drag, it'll give it a little kick. You can always click and that'll stop it wherever it's at. But I think this one is probably a little bit easier to use. There's also, just in terms of views, a couple of shortcuts here. You can always hit this button here. So it's got a little eyeball on it to tell you it's going to change the viewpoint, and it resets it to the equator. This isn't going to look interesting because this is a simple 4, but you can hit the North Pole or the South Pole. So it doesn't really look like anything changed there because the North Pole and the equator and the South Pole all look the same in a simple 4. The other basic controls here is that we can give this notebook a name just by typing in here. Oop, helps if I spell it right. Oh God, typing on camera. And then we can also edit the description. This is just free text here. This could be, if you wanted to sort of lay out step-by-step instructions, this could kind of go with that. You can also change the base color of the ball. And you can also change the division. Right now there's only these divisions, but we'll probably add some more eventually. Go to a simple 6 or a simple 8, and here now the equator and the North Pole are going to start to look a little different. We've got a complex 8, complex 10, and the 20-phase division. And we may still have a little bit of work to do on this one. I tried to realign these pentagons to make them a little less distorted, but they're still not great. But anyway, let's go back to a simple 6. And then this box here, so all of these little sort of rectangular boxes are color swatches, right? So this one controls the marking threads. I'll make that a funky green or something. And over here on the right is the Save button. So as you make changes to the name or the description or the color, or as we add stuff to the ball later, you can save those changes up to the server by hitting that button. It tries to sort of show you when you've got unsaved changes, but that isn't always consistent. And now if I, kind of go back to an older notebook, it reloads that one. If I come back to this one, it's got all those things saved in there. And it resets the view again, but that's how we're going to share and distribute these Temari designs to other people, right? So make a bunch of changes, save, and then anybody who hits that link is going to see that drawing. So part two, how do we start drawing on the ball, right? So there's 3 tools right now that add things to the ball. We'll actually start over here on the right. This is to add a pin, and so you can see that when I'm in any of these 3 modes, sort of the user interface changes a little bit, right? So I get this sort of red cursor that then turns into a green cursor when it's over the ball, and it kind of floats around to let me know where on the surface of the ball we're about to do something. I can't, if I click, I'm going to actually add a pin wherever I click. I can't move the ball anymore, so you kind of want to position the ball to a place where you can see the things that you want to do. I did forget, you can hit, if you have a mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out. That's handy. But once you're in sort of a drawing mode, the ball isn't gonna move on you. But you can just come in and we'll click, and it adds a pin. We'll just add a couple pins sort of randomly, and you can see that down here, you've got little boxes that are telling you that you did that. This is where the pin is in terms of a latitude longitude type style, right? So 29 degrees latitude is above the equator by 30 degrees. 31 degrees longitude is east of the meridian, which is, I think, probably over here. No, sorry, wrong way. Oh, west of the meridian. Okay, well, so we have maybe a sign convention that's a little strange here, but math is hard. So at the bottom you can see that as I move the green cursor around the ball, the latitude and longitude values are updating. And then additionally, you can see that as I move my mouse over these rectangles, the pin color is highlighting to tell me sort of which pin that is that I'm actually looking at. That's useful because if I want to get rid of a pin, that little X button here is what allows me to get rid of that one, and the highlighting sort of lets me know which thing is about to be deleted. The other thing I can do is I can change the color of a pin by hitting that color swatch at the right edge there. Kind of got to mouse over it to get the highlighting off of it, then to see the color change. But we can go back in and add more pins. The reason these are coming up gray is because everything that you draw new is going to be drawn in the current drawing color over here. So turn that into yellow and drop a couple more pins on the board there, and you can see all of those coming up and highlighting as I move through the list. So that's cool. Let's just get rid of some of those. actually, let's just get rid of all of those, and we'll kind of go through this step by step. So that's just a add a pin tool. Then we've got a great circle tool, where the cursor is doing the same thing, but instead of just clicking once and having it appear, like now for a great circle, we need to click twice. And so if I click here and then move and then click there, it's going to take the current drawing color and draw a great circle between those 2 points. And the 2 points that I picked are actually here, but and you can see that it's still doing the highlighting thing there. So I sort of mouse over and mouse out. But you can see that that circle goes all the way around the ball, and it is, yeah, it's a great circle. So there's, for 2 points that you pick that aren't on exact opposite sides of the ball, then there's really only one great circle that you can draw for those 2 things. And since you can't position the ball during that great circle drawing thing, it's actually pretty hard to click 2 points that are on exact opposites of the ball anyway. So so that's the great circle tool. And then you can also just draw an arc between 2 points. So that's click once, click twice, click once, click twice, and again picking up the current drawing color and drawing these segments. Technically, these are also, following great circle paths, right? So it's not exactly the same as stitching. If I go here and go here, you can sort of fake, the notion that we're building up stitching and laying thread next to thread. But if you try to do that over too large of a distance, like, okay, so there's corner to corner, and then I'll go up a little bit, up a little bit. Well, maybe that distance isn't as big enough to see, but since this arc is still following a great circle path, you'll start to see the gap in the middle get a little bit bigger than what you want. So just something to be aware of. If I get rid of some of this stuff. So that's sort of basic drawing, but that's actually, a little tricky. So because you're kind of freehanding. So the other 2 pieces here are snapping, where you can snap the cursor location to particular pins or to particular intersections in order to kind of help you draw repeatedly or sort of more accurately on the ball to what you want to do. So first let's demonstrate pin snapping. So let's say I had put these pins on the ball, and then we turn on pin snapping, go to the arc tool. Now, as I move my cursor around to start that arc drawing process, you can see, like, okay, it's freehand, 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 and then as I get close, the cursor snapped in to where that pin is. It's not exactly, it looks like it isn't exactly where the pin is, but that's actually because the cursor is drawn on the surface of the ball and the pin is actually drawn just above it to look more like a pin head there. But boom, snaps in, boom, snaps in. And so what you can do is, you remember, to draw an arc, we're going to click once and then click twice, so I can let the cursor snap in and then click, and then snap it over there and click, and then it draws the arc from the pin to the pin. And then I can click once, click twice, and then click once, click twice. And I've got my 3 arcs that, and you can see the coordinates match as well, are at the same places that I pinned. The other thing that we can do is, I'll just throw a great circle in, is we can turn on intersection snapping, right? So here, there's, since Temari is often about building up off of intersections of guide threads, This gives us the ability, you can see the cursor is going to snap in to where that great circle crosses the division guide thread. It's going to snap into that intersection that's in the division itself, and that intersection that is also there, and then also up here where that great circle intersects those two arcs that I drew. So we can take these intersections and build, other great circles or other arcs, and iterate through, and build up all of these pieces as we go. And you can turn those on or off independently. So snap to pin, see there's a little pin there, snap to intersection, and that should work for any intersection of any arc or great circle in the division or one that you've added. The last piece is these color tools. So there's an eyedropper for excuse me, for picking up the color. So we can take this color and click on the base color. And notice here I'm actually clicking on the text, which is a little weird. We can click on the marking thread, or we can click on any action. And you can see all that's doing is changing the current drawing color. Here, I'll turn this sort of purple, right? Or you can take the paint bucket and it'll apply that drawing color to anything that we want. So and you do that, not, again, it's a little weird, right? You're not going to click on the color swatch to do this. You're actually just going to click on the box or in the text of the thing that you want to change. So if we want to change that pin, we can change, and you can see the swatch changes. So we'll make all our pins magenta, and we'll make that great circle magenta and that arc magenta. And then if I want to go back and get that gold color back, I can hit the eyedropper, come down here, and click on the action there, and it picks up that drawing color, puts it in there. We can go back to the paint bucket, recolor those back to gold if that was a mistake. Turn the marking threads gold if we want. Turn the base color gold, although that's a little, now everything's invisible, so that's not great. Ooh, that looks challenged. Go with it darker. There we go. Okay. If you do make the base color totally black, it'll kind of fade into the background and also be invisible, so that may not be what you want either. But that's the basics. So I'm going to try to add some new features as time goes on, and we'll try to stand up some different hosting at some point. But just wanted to give you a quick tour of where things are right now in sort of version 1.0, and enjoy drawing. All right, thanks.